This is a recording of Season 5, Episode 1 on AgrAbility with Dr. Lance Beecher for the South Carolina Women in Agricultural Network Webinar Wednesday series. Today we have Dr. Lance Beecher with us. He is an associate extension specialist with us at Clemson, specializing in sustainable ag through research, education, and outreach in aquaponics, hydroponics, and aquaculture. He has his PhD in environmental toxicology from Clemson and both his MS and BS degrees in fisheries and wildlife biology from LSU. And his work focuses on environmentally responsible aquatic farming and efficient food production systems. He also helps people with HACCP certification to meet seafood processing standards and has a great aquaponics and hydroponics workshop series. But today he is with us to talk about the South Carolina AgrAbility program, which helps farmers with disabilities assess assistive technologies and adopt inclusive, sustainable practices that improve quality of life and farm productivity. And if you were at our last conference, you might have sat in on Lance's session. So Lance, I will turn things over to you.
All right. Welcome, everybody. See some familiar names and some people I probably haven't met yet. But I'm here today. One of the big projects that I'm working on and sort of in charge of is the AgrAbility. And so we're trying our hardest. So right now we have a grant. It's a 4-year grant. We're going into our final year. And so we're still working on the networking part, the getting the information out to potential farmers or potential people that want to get in agriculture that possibly will have a disability. So to kind of give you all a perspective of what AgrAbility is in South Carolina. So each state in the country has, well, most of the states in the country have a program. There are some states still out there that don't have a program and have the ability to get one active in the state. So the way it's set up is, of course, each state has their identity, and then we have a national group that's located at Purdue University that corresponds with USDA and such. So the way it kind of works down is the national group gets in touch with us. They offer all kinds of things as far as webinars, training. We have a workshop every year that we attend to listen to talks, get information, things like that. So, and then we have the option to present what we've come through or have obtained. So these are just, you might know some of this stuff, but what we did was we had to figure out, first off, the labor involved as far as agriculture. And so we have these statistics down. The neat thing about this is that we have something that we all should be concerned about is that 36% of the producers are over 65. So this age group, of course, 65 plus, fits perfectly into AgrAbility because we have people, our farmers that want to continue to farm. They might acquire a disability, or the fact is that they want to farm enough to keep their farm within the family. So they kind of take that role on, and some of them I know that they really just don't want to stop unless they're pretty much unable to do that. The other big group that we have that we are fully involved with are veterans. So we kind of figured out that there's 5,000 plus veterans in agriculture. This statistic's really nice too, 11,000 plus new and beginning farmers. So we're seeing not on the end of acquiring a disability, we are seeing people that have a disability want to go into agriculture and want to have that ability to farm technically with their disability. So there's a few things that I put into this grant that we showed some examples of, and I'll talk about that. Like I mentioned, most of these are family farms, so they want to keep the farming going on. And this is another thing. We work with a nonprofit that deals with disabilities on all scales, as far as not just agriculture. They were really interested in coming on with our program because they knew very little in agriculture or the statistics So they were really interested in working with that. And then of course, we can add in that, we have the highest rate of unemployment for those with disabilities. So, like I said, this is a neat program, and it's, involved in it. It keeps growing as far as the umbrella that it covers. For example, University of, Colorado, they have, and I'm not sure why the University of Colorado has it, should be Colorado State. Most of them are associated with land grants. But basically the state of Colorado, um, specifically, works with mental disabilities. And like I said, that's probably the biggest, um, disability we can say for veterans, is the fact that they don't want to, I always just say they don't want to put a tie on and go work at a bank or something like that. They want to be alone, and, for what I've seen so far with my experience, a greenhouse and growing things for their family or whatever is the perfect situation. So, um, these are just some of the things that we, are working through the grant to accomplish. It was pretty neat for us to do cross training, between teaching the nonprofit about agriculture in a sense, and then us learning, disability terms and practices. So we kind of started out the project with that. We do have an advisory committee. Here I use aquaponics, of course, which was really nice for me because I do a lot of work with veterans and such. So, I adjusted or changed this system a little bit to help with that. And then also too, we are closely tied with the ag safety program here at Clemson. So, we try to say in simple terms, we teach kids not to get hurt, so then they don't need AgrAbility. So in that sense. And we did do some student work with AgMech as far as looking at some projects, that we could incorporate into that. So, these are just parts of, the grant and what we had to accomplish. So this right here, what I did was, of course, aquaponics, I work with it, so I wanted to include something with this. So once again, it's really just the design, that could change, that anybody could use this, as a food production system. So what we did was two things. If you can see in this, the one picture, that we have two different levels of plant growing systems. And we incorporated that for the lower level. Of course, if someone was in a wheelchair, and if you look at most traditional aquaponic systems, most of the time the grow bed is actually on the ground. And so, I can't do that in my greenhouse, of course, because I got a concrete floor, and we can't bury pipes. So everything I have is raised, but the lower one is for, like I said, a person that would be in a wheelchair. And then the higher one is for somebody that would have knee problems or back problems, and they really can't bend over, and do anything like that. So, this was part of the adjustment, if you want to say, of that system. And then the other picture shows that it's very simple, but, and like I said, these pipes that you're looking at would all be buried. But if you had an existing greenhouse, all we did was move the pipes over, out of the way, so that a person in a wheelchair could access filtration, and all that kind of stuff, without having, the pipes in the way. So very simple adjustments, but, has a pretty good impact on making them successful in growing this. This was pretty neat for me because I did work with a person, through, because he knew I did aquaponics, but he was in a wheelchair, and he built his entire system based on how he could use the system, for his personal or his purposes that he wanted to use it for. So I had some information that I could use from that to sort of look at this. Um, Networking, we do a lot of networking. We basically, there's a website, of course. And then what we did for year two, and we've actually did have I guess you could say, participated year 3. We just did year 3, and we worked with the Clemson Life program. And so that's on campus. And so what we did was we actually, it's set up to, and if you're not familiar with Clemson Life, it's basically a program on campus. And I've learned that there are other programs, around other campuses or other universities. Whoop, did I lose? Oh, there we go. So the way it works out, if you're familiar with it, President Clement's daughter went through the program, as you saw on, I think it was Good Morning America. She graduated, and it made the national news. She was so excited about it. But the way the program is set up is that they bring these disabled, and that's one of the things real quick to throw in, is that we had some issues or concerns by the federal administration about using certain words. So technically, instead of using disabled, we either use mentally challenged or physically challenged. If I'm going to basically work through this, just to kind of make things, and that's the word I'm programmed to say, but we need to change. But like I said, it's a group. We had them come in the first year, and we taught them all about agriculture. We gave them experiences with some of the AgMech displays they have. And what we did here is we actually got them to build raised beds. So we had it all set up to where, we had all the holes pre-drilled and things, but we also gave them the experience to do that, which some were excited as anything, and some were nervous enough that they didn't want to participate in it. But we built these beds. They put the wood together, then added soil, and we had them plant some tomato plants. And it was an exciting day for them. So and then we had a little, like, I guess a little contest asking ag questions and stuff, and so they enjoy that. We did it again this year real quick, and we took them out to our sustainable garden, I think it is, on campus. They planted blueberry bushes and learned about fertilizer and stuff. And then also two mech had their self-driven gator, and then also to a tractor. So they enjoy it. We're going to plan on doing it again in the spring. This is when we had both activities. Direct assistance, this is probably why we exist, or why we need to exist, is giving help to existing farmers. And so we create the connections. And what we do, the way it's set up, is that we get a contact. And so this person, through the website or through somebody, an agent, or even just somebody, a friend that I know that knows a farmer that needs help, we go out, we have to evaluate them. We ask them some questions. Some of them, some of the questions are financial questions, and we all know farmers don't want to say how much they make. So it's kind of getting that relationship in a little closer way, so we can get that information. We need that information. Then we take that we also look at what they could use to help increase their productivity. It might be as simple as a self-opening gate, or a extension of the stairs on a tractor, so they don't have to climb up as far, the first step. And then we create either we find someone, we work with vocational rehabilitation, and then also assistive technology within the state. They either create the mechanism we need, or we have the ability to purchase that. So like I said, it could be as simple as a gate opener, or we could go up to, and it's kind of hard, of course, the more expensive things get. But they have had farmers that have been equipped with a lift, that could either put them on a tractor, or a combine. And so it's a very expansive, I guess you could say, bank of information, and then also materials that they could use. If you've been to the state fair, I advertise this because that's what we have to do. And I usually have just garden tools, and that creates a conversation. Just simply the way they've adjusted just gardening tools to help people that might have either arthritis or sore wrist and things like that. So marketing, like I said, this is all the places we've talked to or participated in a conference. And so we, like I said, this grant, the main purpose of the grant is to get that information out and let people know. We have the website and we do social media and things like that. So if anybody's interested in working with the program, we have the South Carolina AgrAbility Project website, and they have a thing on there that you can, I think, just click. That information comes to me, and then we start that process. This was the cool thing that we did. Part of the project was to create a needs assessment of agricultural farmers or employers or even workers. So we sent this out. Like I said, it was distributed through the Department of Ag and then also the Farmer Veteran Coalition. We got some responses, not as many as we would like to have. So once again, we get some information, and so this kind of gives you an idea as far as the questions that were asked. You know, can they identify or do they, can they identify any type of disabilities? Do they have any support for those disabilities? All kinds of different things. If they are using assistive technologies, what types are they using? Things like that. So the information we came out, which, some of it is, you would think that's correct or what, but some of it was surprising to us. So this question asked, are you currently employing individuals with disabilities? And you can see the breakout. So it was pretty much a yes or no question. And so, that's the information. And we're happy that, there's a good amount of people that are employing individuals with disabilities. And to kind of give you a perspective about disabilities, it's come a long way. It's just not an amputation or anything like that. It's, arthritis is considered a disability now. Wearing glasses is considered a disability. So, when you say they're employing individuals, it's not, everybody has that extreme disability in a sense. So, these are other things that we asked as far as that we had 30% that, physical disabilities. So it's those that you might have to where, walking long distances or potentially use a motor vehicle to get around. Hearing disabilities, we all sort of, we have hard-headed people and also farmers that refuse to wear ear protection, in their younger days, and now can't hear. So that's a disability also. And like I said, visual disabilities, reduced or no eyesight and things like that. So that might inhibit them for simply inspecting crops or operating any type of machinery. And important, if we dealing with chemicals, reading that label, which we should do. Like I said, we found some good information here. It would have been wonderful to have more responses, but we're good with it at this point. We're thinking about sending this out again, not part of, we don't have to do it for the grant, but it would just be nice to have more information that we can use to figure things out. So this one here was, have you received any training on disability awareness and inclusion in the workplace? And you can see the responses there. And then we have, as far as, wait, did I switch? Oh, okay. Is your agricultural operation physically accessible for individuals with disabilities? So that information, we can see that most of the results were pretty much the same in a sense, not much change, but, it's nice to know, like I said, that, there is some awareness out there, with this. Any modifications or combinations you have implemented. And you can see, like I said, it's pretty much the same, for each one. We have an advisory committee, so of course, ultimately, this grant was funded by USDA, the NIMFA, part of USDA. And then you can see we have our advisory committee, and we've included a few more from here. Some have dropped off, some have, we've picked up. So this is a little bit outdated, but, we're trying to get the word out. So let me see, to kind of give you a better perspective is, my goal was for the last year was to approach the legislature. So we have been talking to, so we talked with Florida, which is as old as we are as far as the grant wise. We just had a meeting with, I guess you could say, Nebraska, and so their program, have existed for almost, I think, 30 years. So you get a very different perspective as far as one of the ones, and it's been hard. And so I've been working with the national group, and they say, we're not the only one that has a slow start to this. It's just, if you're in Nebraska or if you're in Missouri and things, the traditional agricultural states, this is a no-brainer, and it's very easy to expand it really fast. But, some state that, has agriculture but not as intense, it's taken us a little bit more time. So, my goal, like I said, Nebraska said that they spent a lot of time with legislators, getting them involved with it, and also maybe possibly receiving funding to implement some of the either machinery or projects that would come about. So technically, we're not supposed to use our grant money to help. So, for example, if a farmer would need hand controls for a tractor, technically we can't use our grant money to buy hand controls. Why? I have no idea. I can buy hand controls to take to the state fair and put on a table. However, we can't buy hand controls to put on a tractor for somebody. So we rely on external sources of income. All right, any questions?
Lance, you might have already addressed this. Do chemical companies make large print labels available on their website?
I think they do on the website, not on the bottle itself or the chemical, but they do have abilities to, or they have the ability for someone to receive the information that they would need in an easy manner. So, the other things too is, we rely on, like I said, contacts. So, I try to, I presented some information at our first joint conference. And then I did some at the last conference, as much as, the way it works out now is we work with, like I said, this nonprofit group. It's called Able SC. And then also to South Carolina State is on the grant too. So the way it works out is we're coming down to our fourth year. And when you say somebody has the program for 30 years, what you can do is actually write a continuation report, and they'll look at it, and potentially will fund you another year. It's a year-to-year basis, so you get enough funds. And a lot of the old ones, they have, I guess you can say, just not that source of income. They have a team, which I wish we could have a bigger team, but they have a team that would write other grants to get money from other sources to sustain the program.
Lance, one question that I get sometimes is a farm that is doing agritourism wants to make sure that they are accessible to all visitors. Who do you recommend they reach out to kind of help them do a walkthrough and see if they are accessible or if they need to make any adjustments?
Um, they can start, so send me the information, and like I said, what our nonprofit does is they'll do that for a workplace. And so they're very interested in working with, because they're understanding what farms are about and this and that. So they could go through the whole process and say, okay, this is needed, that you're good with this and stuff like that. So we're happy to have, or we're happy to have that group on this project that they can help out with that part. And so, and their ability too is say, for example, if there is a farm or an establishment out there, and a farmer, you know I guess simply needing a walker of some sort and things like that. If they have the ability to get it or acquire it, they would pass it on. So it wouldn't even go through the AgrAbility program. So, but yeah, just get them, you know, get the contact info, and then we can definitely do something like that.
Do we have any other questions for Lance?
How to contact for partnerships. Um, Once again, just at this point, we're on the grant, so, I'm sort of the lead person because I'm an extension. But definitely, we would love partnerships, because that's really, that would help out tremendously. So, that's something that we could discuss within the group, within the grant group, but then also too possibly, with advisory, committee. But, we're happy to work with anybody. So for example, like Kara Rutter is on our advisory group, and they're with the veterans. And so technically, actually, the way it was done was that she submitted a grant for her needs, and I was included in it to basically provide information about AgrAbility. So we're happy to work with anybody. That's our goal, is to have these partnerships or just connections that we could um, help.
And Lance, we'll include your contact information in the follow-up email. So if someone wants to reach out directly, they can do that. And then Chase asked, do you have any upcoming events that we can promote?
Yeah, it's called the State Fair. Everybody, it's the happiest time of the year. Yeah, well, actually, we'll have, well, I'll be there um, for extension plus AgrAbility. And then also too, we have, AgMech doing some stuff at the Sunbelt Expo. They'll have some things set up there. And then, really, I'm not sure. We just kind of, there's different small things that we participate in. We try to, also too, we welcome anybody that would love for us to come talk. So, I would love to have, for example, I'm trying my hardest to get in Cattlemen's Association, any type of associations related to agriculture. Anything that we could show what we're about. So, um, but I know everybody on here is just excited for me to remind y'all that the State Fair is approximately 50 days away. I got the countdown on my sticky note. So,
It's coming up quick.
oh yeah, I'm stressing already. I'm stressing now, so I don't have to stress the day before, put it that way.
Then another question, does it have to be production ag or could it be the processing part also?
Anything related to agriculture. So, it could be production ag, it could be small farms, it could be 1,000-acre farms, it could be, maybe something that we could help out with, agritourism. So for example, if a person possibly might need a gate opener to help open gates. We don't exclude, any type of situation. The only thing we do run into, and this is unfortunately right now, it's because of um, our funding partners, VR and AT, is that they have some stipulations as far as income. So we're trying to work that out because, you know, like I said, I mean, I married into a farming family, and you know, finances are very vague in a sense, you know, so I don't want to let a lot of information, you know, their first response is, I'm poor, can't you tell, you know, but you know, you're driving up in the SUV and you know, all that good stuff, so. But that's probably the only really critical part that we have to kind of work through, is the financial part, so. But we open up to, let's see, packing house, yeah, anything related to agriculture. I mean, we even stress to farmers that if they have employees, um, you know, that could possibly use some help. Um, It's not, you know, and that's, I mean, of course, nobody would really be contacting us if it didn't pertain to agriculture, but, you know, something like when we first started out, we got a lot of calls from, you know, with children that wanted to participate in farming, but might have a disability or even a mental disability. So there's things out there that, you know, we could talk about, or get in touch with someone that could help with that. As far as any type of, mental deficiency that, you know, would hurt. I kind of, like I said, I don't really want to single out veterans, but you know, a lot of them have that issue. They just, they want to be productive, but you know, they want to be, selective in their involvement. So what do you got here? Yeah, I mean, we could possibly, work with, accessories, but then also too, like, Charlie mentioned, as far as, you know, if someone has a, you know, a packing facility and they want advice on how can we incorporate, you know, I simply state ADA compliance, or processes, then, so something like that, we would sort of combine things as far as, you know, looking at the agricultural part of it, but then also involving our nonprofit to say, you know, is this possible? Is this, you know, because I learned a lot from that group as far as me understanding, those people with disabilities, you know, because the one thing that stands out to me, which I never thought of in 100 years, is that, you know, we have one of them that works with us in a wheelchair, and they specifically said that we don't, you know, if you're coming up to somebody in a wheelchair, you know, get down, bend down, get on your knees, or squat down and talk to them eye to eye. They don't want to be talked to down, like, so you're standing up talking down to them. You never really think about that, but you know, they want to have a conversation. Unfortunately, they can't stand upright to have that conversation. So get down to their level, and they appreciate that a lot. They won't say, hey, come down here, but you know, if you show them that respect, then they really appreciate that. So, um, we had a workshop in Portland, and one of their employees, she's blind, and it amazed me. She went through airports with a companion dog, and probably got through the airport faster than I could. So, we were just amazed that, and she's very independent. So it was nice to see that aspect too. Of course, I wasn't supposed to play with the dog, but you know, every now and then I did. Anything else?
I think we've cleared everything out of the chat box.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
thank you so much,
no
Lance.
problem. Like I said, if anybody's got questions, don't hesitate to email me. If you got, you know, suggestions on could this work or could we work with this, just let me know. All right. No problem.
Thanks, everybody. I'm gonna stop the recording and we'll send it out once it's done processing. Thanks, Lance.
All right, thank you.